Austin, welcome to the WorkPlay Podcast.
Hello.
I am so excited for you to be on. We are going to dive into all things you being a WorkPlay content creator, but I would love for you to just introduce yourself, how you got into photography, just so we can get a little backstory.
Yeah. Well, I'm Austin. I'm originally from Arkansas, and I went to Missouri for school, and now I'm currently based here in New York, and I work with WorkPlay. And yeah, that's kind of my brief story, brief history.
I love that. So, what made you want to come to New York City?
Well, originally I moved here for the arts and performance, like specifically, but I always had a passion for photography because it tied in with what I was doing in the arts, and that started around like 12 years ago, sometime like early in college is when that kind of came up. But that is originally why I moved to New York was to perform.
And that's interesting because I feel like there's a few people on our team that kind of got into photography through that way. I'm always curious, like, what about that industry or that almost like subject, gets you into photography? Where's the connection there for you specifically?
I think it's just there's a facet that everyone pulls from, and even if it's within the arts, for me specifically, I saw imagery and design and elements that just made my eyes light up, especially with what I was doing was with dance and musical theater. So every time I look up on that stage, I see all these colors, all these lights, and these frozen moments that are so specific to one person, and it might not be specific to someone else. And my dog is whining. I'm sorry. She's like, "Let me in. I want to be in the podcast." So I think that's where I kind of pull that from, if that answers the question, or
Yeah.
where I find the similarities of photography and performance and how I get drawn into that. So it started, yeah, in dance, and I saw like a need for us to like really show our image like to other people, whether it's through like playbills or posting on social media about performances. And it's like those little moments that you see, like someone's reaching for someone or like lifting someone up in a lift that really like draws people in, and they're like, oh, I want to go see that show. And I'm like, that's the thing that I wanted to like work hand in hand with whenever I was dancing and performing.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense because photography is all about like, can you see that moment first and foremost? Like a good content creator, good photographer is going to be able to see that moment. And I think that's why people want to work with us because we can see that moment. And you are obviously no different. What was that transition like when you, or maybe it hasn't even been a transition, or is that still a part of your life? How did you kind of do both or make that transition into just photography?
The transition like happened like over a period of like leaving the performance world, like having worked in it professionally for like 5, 6 years. And then I found that I had other passions that I just didn't put a lot of energy into, or like really not energy, I would say, just didn't really think about putting my time into because I was already like so stretched so thin. But it was more so I wanted to represent myself on like in the company and like all over the stage. Like I wanted to do everything. I wanted to always like be like I wanted to get my fingers in like the nitty gritty. I didn't want to just dance. So I think whenever I remembered, not remembered, but I knew I could take pictures, and they were like, "Hey, we really need to get some stuff done." And it was one instance where our photographer couldn't make it to a rehearsal, and we all were there that day, and we couldn't come the next day. So I was like, "Well, like I have a camera, like I can just set it up on a tripod and like do some stuff real quick on the scenes that I'm not in, and then I can teach someone else real quick to do the shots for the scenes that I'm in, and we'll just see what happens." And we used it for like our promotional material for the like first 2 months, and then from there we grew and grew, and we actually didn't even hire a photographer from there on out. We each other took pictures of our company and started to like see improvement like in ticket sales too. So we were like, wow. And then that transitioned like as I moved to New York, I was like leaving the performance like uh, world behind, or like the dance company world behind, Not entirely, because I still would like to go back into that world as a photographer because I've realized that I really love this and there's a passion there, and I've started to do it with small businesses here in New York, and then of course also with WorkPlay, and it just keeps coming up to me that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go back to this. Like I'm gonna find myself back on a stage, maybe not dancing, but for sure capturing those visuals that move me so much.
I think it makes so much sense when you say that, how you got to be where you are. And it's so interesting because whenever we really everyone on our team kind of got into photography and content creation almost as like on accident in a way. Well, not on accident, but just like
Yeah,
organically.
yeah,
And
organically.
it's just so interesting. It's like we always get pulled to this. And I think that's really important because I don't know if you've seen this, but I think sometimes photographers like they go into it just because like, oh, I want to be a photographer. But the people that are pulled into it and are drawn to it, I think that's really where the magic starts to happen. It sounds like that was very similar for you.
Oh yeah, and I think like members and clients of all different types of agencies and companies can see that difference whenever they hire a photographer versus someone who like, yeah, they like taking pictures, but there's a person who is drawn into creating a difference for that company, for that brand, for that member, that client, whatever. And when they see that difference in post product and edits, and it's like, and they'll even see that when they're talking to the photographer and they're editing. It's like, oh, I couldn't help myself. I over edited. I did like 30, 40 photos instead of what we really talked about only doing 20 because I just loved the shoot that much. And like, and that's what I love to do.
I love that. And I love that you're so detail orientated. One of the first things that I noticed about you when you came down to Miami for your content creator training, you're so detail orientated and you're so present in the creation process. Is that something that you've always been and something that is a trait that you've always held? Or is that something you've learned over time? Like, how did that come to be for you?
Oh yeah, I definitely believe it was a trait learned over time, because of course, like initially picking up the camera, of we always just want to like take the pictures as we go, like really starting out. Um, but it was a growth and a learning curve for sure.
I love that. I love that. And I don't know if I've asked you this question, but when you started, you were self-taught or you did like courses? How did that come about?
Like a bit of both, really.
Mm.
So that kind of came into like to answer like, or I already answered your last question, but like semi-answered, like being so detail oriented. I didn't have that. I had the eye for like design and like, color and composition, like a little bit, but it needed to be refined. I needed to be talked about because I think it's good to, of course, like go in at it and train yourself, but you also need to go back to the theory and the basics and really learn. Um, about something, especially if you want to put your like create it and make it your craft and your specialty. So I talked now to answer your actual question. Um, I was in college at the time doing like performance musical theater, and my friend who's in the photography program, she loved taking pictures of us like outside of class because she also had to do it for projects and stuff like that. So the next semester she asked, she's like, there's a, general education class that you could benefit from. And also you have to get it out of the way because it's an elective. So I took like one course for a semester with her because I really wanted to do it in tandem with her because she was kind of training me and helping me. Um, and that's where that all started. Like, so I did have some little bit of training from college, but only one class. And but really, like what hammered the nail down or whatever hammered the nail down. I have dyslexia when I talk. Um, she just really taught me and helped me skyrocket for the next 2 years. And then I started to take pictures for actors and singers and dancers in Springfield, like where I went to college, but also mainly on campus for like kids like me who couldn't afford those $800 headshots because they need to go to New York and get ready for their showcase or LA. That's really nerve-wracking. So I'm like, well, I'll do it for $20 and let's see how we do. And it just went from there. And you create something for your clients that they need. Especially when something's too expensive, you're like, well, I can offer it not at like an extremely lower rate, but I've been taught, I know how to do this, and I'm gonna make you shine. So let's see where it goes from here.
100%. And I love that. I love the mix of like being told, self-taught, but then also recognizing like, hey, I want to work on this craft. I want to hone this craft, which I think is the perfect balance. It's great. You are so good at making people feel so comfortable. And that is one of the things, like when we are looking for workplay content creators to join our team, is like that is one of the most important things. And I just think that you're so good at doing that. How do you think you do that in your workplace shoots with workplay members? Like, what are some of your things that you constantly go back to that you know are going to make people feel comfortable in front of the camera?
I think it's always like, well, with our members in Workplay, we have a nice little debrief at the beginning. And of course, we have a week plus to talk to them through a messaging app where we can actually get to know them. Um, so I think it's that first initial talk whenever you get to meet them in person. Um, you need to have like a consultation and just like create a relaxed atmosphere for everyone so that it's encouraging and it just creates a nice basis for how the rest of the day is going to go. And I think that when you engage in conversation with them and use humor along the way, it really eases them up and allows them to also jump in on the creative process because you're just you're not like a director and then you're creating a separate line and they're an actor or a client or a member. Like that's not what like how I see it. There is like a dotted line and we seep in together and we work on it together. So I think a lot of people who haven't been in front of a camera or haven't done this before for their brand, whether they're just at home taking pictures by themselves, but really when they get a professional in front of them, they get like really stiff and then they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm like, actually, just be normal, be yourself. And it's like having that conversation in the beginning that really gets them to just settle down and think like, oh, I'm just here hanging out with a good friend and we're taking pictures and we're going to make my business blow up. Like that's all we're doing.
I love that. And I think there's always a pressure that entrepreneurs feel in front of the camera because they're like, okay, I have to be perfect. I think that's where it comes from. But I think if
Hmm.
you're able to work with a workplay content creator that's going to make you feel like, hey, we're just best friends on a day that's going to be like the best day out of your week, the least stressful, and we're going
Exactly.
to create the best content together. I just think it invigorates so much life into business and just like your quarterly marketing
Yeah.
schedule. Honestly, like prioritizing that and creating and co-creating with us, I think is so much fun. How do you really make sure people are prepared going into it? Like what would you in a perfect world want your workplay members that you shoot with to come to the shoot with? What would make a perfect shoot day?
I would want them to bring the energy of their brand, like what they're representing. Because I see that sometimes they understand what they're doing, like, oh yeah, like this is what we're doing today, like this is the agenda, like we have all of these scenes planned out. I'm like, yes, you have the details and the outline, and now it's time to put that energy there though, that I see can miss sometimes from a lot of members. So I think that that's just something they need to remember. I know they have a lot on their plate, so that leading up to everything, they're going over all of the details, the props, the clothes, the locations, the time, the scenes. They want to get everything down to the T, but also not feel so like stuck and chained in a schedule. But like you have to make them feel at ease at the same time. But I'm trying to remind my clients, or I would love to tell them, or my members, hey, like say a fitness instructor, and they're not showing that they are a fitness instructor or bringing that energy of liveliness, health, beauty, whether it's youth or youth within old age. Like I have to create that scene for them so that then go, oh, and it clicks, and then the rest of the day is like magic. So I think that's just something I would love to tell my members to be like, hey, bring your energy into the shoot as well. Like that represents your brand.
it's so funny because there's such a push and pull of this like systematic, like rigidness that has to happen in the planning phase. But then, like, when you get to the create phase of the workplay method, it's like you've already done that. So you get to enter into a new energy, like you're saying. It's like
Hmm.
embodiment of what you're trying to market, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to create. And having you recognize that as the creator is so important because so many times I think business owners like we're stuck in the systems and like the systematic, almost like this masculine energy. And it's like I think creativity is
Hmm.
more like this feminine energy, and it's like you have to get into that mode almost, and you have to have someone almost sometimes like pull you out. It's like, all
Yeah,
right, we're
no.
done with the schedule, we're into the flow.
Yes. And I think that's where the photographer kind of comes in. And I'm not saying like the whole back of house, like leading up to the actual shoot, but that's what we are. And that's what we bring for our members. Like we work really hard. And then the day comes to where we do the shoot, we play. But of course, we're integrating all that work that you did before, but we're easing up and we're taking a step back and staying on time to to envision and bring to life what that like what you need over the next 4 quarters or how many quarters you have left. So I think that's a really cool dynamic, and I think that's why our members love our team so much. Because and I've heard it like for the past year from all of our members saying like, it was all just I was very nervous leading up to this, but like after today, I just felt like all of that kind of went away. I was like, yeah, that's the whole point. It's like you worked up to this day, and now let's have fun and do what you want to like get done.
Yeah, I love that. It definitely is the work and the play. It's like
Yes.
we do work and then we play, and the play just
Yes.
happens to be the creation process. And I think people forget that. People forget that
Uh-huh.
that is the playing part.
Yes.
You have to have fun through it. I totally agree. Okay, a huge part of what you do is around creativity. How are you bringing in the creative ideas even after everything's been planned out? There's obviously a huge amount of creativity that goes into actually creating the content. What's
Yeah.
your system and what's your process for bringing something new and fresh to someone's shoot every single time?
Yeah. I think it's I think initially it's always about a collaborative approach because yeah, you come in as an artist and you have your vision, but you initially need to sit down and look at the creative board. Like that's always what a person does, even it's for their own shoots. You sit down and you create a mood board, a creative vision, and you influence it over time until you've got it to the right way that you want it, and then you execute it when the day comes for shooting. And the same thing happens whenever you're working with a member here with WorkPlay. You look up all of their inspiration, everything that they'd like to do scene by scene, and then you go, okay, this is exactly what I need to inform my creative process. And I think that's mainly working in tandem. So then the day comes that we sit down and we talk and we have an open conversation. All that planning and research that we did together comes to fruition the day of. And I think there's a lot of other factors and elements, but I think really open communication is what sets us up for success with our members.
100%, especially because I've heard horror stories of people doing brand shoots and coming out of the brand shoot and being like, this doesn't really have like I can't, this wasn't what we planned. And
Hmm.
it's like that open communication is so important to us. I so agree with you on
Yeah,
that.
it sets clear guidelines. It keeps them within the loop, especially if you continue having that conversation throughout the day, and that includes like not only just a conversation loop, but bringing them into the loop of seeing the images and like then they see that like your creative process and theirs is working together. So you're like, you see here, like how I kind of went at this angle and said, like, you had this thought, but like we did that as well. And we're going to go here as well. But you see the combination of the two really makes it better. And they're like, yes, like, and if you lean into that, you know, that presence with each other, you're going to really have a successful day and a successful shoot with your member as a
It's
photographer. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, I totally agree. And I'm so glad that you brought up that almost like co-creation part of our shoots where it's like it's not, workplay content creator snapping away and then you don't see anything. It's like you're getting to give feedback as it's happening. So it's never
Yes.
a surprise. And I think, as a business owner, you never want to be surprised about something like an end
No,
result. It's like as
no,
much control
no.
as we could possibly have, but while like trying to be in that creative mode, I think we kind of balance that with that pretty well. And I think obviously you do a great job of that too. How do you get really clear on the client, the WorkPlay member's brand through the creative direction team, which is Becca, essentially? So in the process, for anyone who's listening that doesn't know our process, so you'll have a one-on-one call with Becca, who's our creative director. She'll craft the creative vision, and then we'll use that to create the agenda. And essentially you'll show up to your shoot and your content creator will already know what's going on with your brand. People don't understand how that bridge works in this company. So I'd love for you to just explain, how do you use and work with our team, the back end team, to understand the client's brand fully and also what their campaigns are for that upcoming quarter?
Hmm. Yeah, it's mainly specifically looking at what they want that quarter for their goals, reaching out with Becca after watching a recording or going over the specifics. Like Becca has specifically talked to this member and asked them like, what is your goal for like specifically for this quarter? And what are these images going to be used for? And so that informs me on everything, on what I'm supposed to be doing that day, what I need to be focusing on, how it's going to be used on their e-commerce profiles, their social media, printed products, billboards. It just depends, of course. Um, and then from there, it's just getting all of the information about their website, their color scheme, their Pinterest boards. It's taking all of that and literally I have to put it up, not on a wall, but like put it all down on a sheet of paper and go through everything so that I can take it in because you can't, not that you can't, but you need to go into a shoot like almost as if you work for them, like as if you know this company in and out. Um, and that's the beauty of like how that bridge is connected. Like, and if that's the main thing that I use and I see whenever I work. So it's just taking all of that information um, and trying to concise it and put it down on paper and make sure that it's clear to me, and then that will become clear on the day of the shoot. And it's always beautiful. So
No, I love that. And it's so important that people understand how much care you actually put into the shoot, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, like we're going to hire a big team and a big company. Like, do they actually care about my brand? And I wanted you to explain that because I know that you care so much.
yes,
And
yes.
sometimes it's hard for people to understand that someone would care about their brand like
Hmm.
that. Um, but you're literally like taking all pieces of it and putting it together and thinking intentionally about it. And I just think that that is rare in the photography space to have someone that cares.
Yes, yes, it is. I can reiterate that because another one of our photographers, Trey, her and I were talking about this over text, like how she saw one of my Instagram stories. I was in an airport lounge, and she sees like my notebook with all my like workplace stuff written on it, and she's like, "Do you break this stuff down like I do?" I was like, "Yes, you like it gets you involved in the process because if you don't get involved, then you will feel that disconnect in the shoot." And I've been there before in the past um, where you may have a client or a member, depending on its freelance or with an agency, they come in with a business that may not spark your interest as much. Like, oh, I prefer to do like, products or fitness. You can't come in with that mindset, of course, but you always have that determining factor. Um, so Trey and I were really just like talking it up about how we we stalk these people in the best way possible.
No, I'm for real. I would want someone to stalk me. I would want someone
Yes.
to like be at the shoot, arrive to the shoot, if I was meeting them for the first time, already knowing everything about me. Ideally, if we're working in a creative setting, because then the creative is just going to be able to match that energy so much quicker, which I love that, we have just together, all of us cultivated a community where, again, there's open communication lines between how we're speaking about the client, what the brand is, and how we're actually preparing, which
constant open lines. Constant.
I love it. I know people don't even realize that we have like a full group chat where we're like hyping up our clients and like everything that we're
always doing. And we know that there's a change. That's the other thing, is like there's always going to be changes, and we're always in communication with our members about that. And not only like it's just the creative back of house team and one other member another like say Sierra with the member talking about this, like this revision, but it's also the photographer. Like we are jumping in, seeing this revision and planning accordingly, going back and changing our daily routine. Like, oh, we're going to have to scratch this board now. Like, or, okay, I understand this location may not work. So now I need to pivot. So we are all in constant communication with everything that's happening for the member within the creative process entirely.
I love it. I love it. It makes me so happy. I'm like getting warm, fuzzy feelings.
Good.
We're gonna jump into some rapid fire because this is always my favorite part.
Oh gosh.
So interesting to know like what everyone on the team's answers are. So I already know.
It's like GQ 70 questions. I'm ready.
Totally. Okay, so they're rapid fire, but if you want to explain your answer, you definitely can. I'm not going to stop you. Okay. So your favorite WorkPlay member shoot that you've done?
My most recent one. It was on can I name them?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Becca Piastrelli. It was upstate in the Hudson Valley near Ghent, New York. And it was so beautiful. I was so moved. Also, it was all for like a farm estate. So events, or like photos for her event spaces, produce, and flowers. Like it's everything that's located on her farm. She just, needed a bunch of beautiful images, and she was not concerned about really getting like herself. Like she's like, I don't want to be me. I want it to be the land with me in it. And I was like, I loved that whole day. It was beautiful. Even whenever I was trying to incorporate her more and do more of the WorkPlay method to where I, really got her to interact and do more like scene work. I had like 30 to 40 minutes to play around after she like ordered lunch for everyone. And she was like, all right, we can break. I was like, well, I'm going to like in this time go and play and take pictures. I took thousands of photos of their property, and I connected with her on that level because I'm also from like a small town, small farm. And we had that conversation, and we just like in the debrief alone, we like were best friends. It was amazing.
I love that. That makes me so happy to hear. Your favorite city to shoot WorkPlay members in?
Ooh, I'd have to say New York City. Sorry.
I know.
I just love New York.
All the New Yorkers are like, New York City, is that even a question?
Yeah. I mean, if I could, Colorado, but I mean, okay. I'm more East Coast. For all of our members listening today, and other listeners, I'm an East Coast based photographer, so I'm based out in New York. So, but I would love to go to Denver every now and then, or Colorado. I'm a very outdoorsy person, but I am a city boy as well at the same time.
WorkPlay members can request you, so if anyone's listening and you
want
Austin to Colorado, it is definitely a possibility if you want to fly him there, because he wants to go.
If you need your next ski resort photo session done, let me know, because I just learned how to ski and I can do it with a camera. I bet you I could do it.
I love that. We need to get that on like
this. I was so bad the first time. I almost broke my ankles.
No one can tell us we won't do anything like for the shot, because we will.
Yeah, we will. We will. We will get in 3 feet deep water on our knees with our booty in the water. Be like, I got it. Yes. Because we don't care.
Yes, we want the end result. We don't care about the process of getting it.
No, the process is the best part.
Totally, totally. Okay, your essentials that you are taking to a WorkPlay travel shoot. What's in your backpack? What's going with you?
Well, of course, camera, two batteries, 2 to 3 SIM cards, an extra lens for like wider scenes, if at all possible. Um, and then all of my other stuff that I don't know how to say because I'm not a technical person when it comes to computers. My laptop, like everything that I need to download everything and offload onto my desktop or my laptop. That's essential, of course. Other than that, water, at least 2 to 3 snacks, um, and a very, very good attitude. And that's about it.
I love that. I love that. I love that. An attitude, a good attitude is free too. So
Yeah, it is.
yeah, totally. Okay, I guess you already kind of said your bucket list. That was going to be my next one. Your bucket list
Oh,
city.
no, please.
Let's say city, because you did say Colorado as the state, but do you have a bucket list city?
In the US, bucket list city.
Anywhere.
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah, for a workplace shoot.
For a workplace shoot, Edinburgh, Scotland.
Yes.
I think there are a ton of beautiful businesses in Edinburgh that could benefit from visuals. And I even saw that for the past several years that I've gone over there because I shoot photography over there. And I've noticed that a lot of businesses, not say are struggling, but they just don't use a lot of visuals. I'll even go like visit the cafes, look at their Instagrams and stuff, just to get a sense of what these businesses do. I really think that I would love to shoot in Edinburgh. I know exactly where to go, exactly what to do. I know all the best spots. I know the best pictures. And I can, even on a rainy day, our member might even be like, oh, it's just like the whole mood is just down. I'm like, wait till you see these pictures. Your jaw will be on the floor.
The vibe of that place, though. Like,
Yeah, it's like London, but even more moody.
Yeah, if it wasn't raining and cloudy and moody, I'd be like, this isn't like what we came here for.
Yeah, I mean, if I do get sent there, look, we just have to make sure we schedule it, earlier summer, like when it's not raining as much.
Right. I love it. And plus, like New York, there's got to be like straight flights. I would think we got to get you there.
Easily 6-hour straight flights there.
Easy. Okay. And then my last rapid question for you, rapid fire question, is what is your go-to WorkPlay shoot snack? What's that midday snack that you just ideally would want to be having?
I love either a Nutri-Grain bar or like anything with like fig and nuts and chocolate, and it's all put into a granola bar. Yes, please. Because I can get the energy that I need and the flavor that I'm looking for. And then at least, a bag of potato chips. I'm a real sucker for Lay's sour cream and onion potato chips.
Same. I'm like addicted.
That's all I need.
I'm also addicted to the Ruffles sour cream and onion, and like whenever I'm in the airport, I'm like, I can't do it. Don't do it. And then
Or the Ruffles sour cream and cheddar, the ridged ones. Yes.
Yeah. Immediately.
Take my money.
I love it. Thank you so much, Austin, for coming on.
Of course.
And chatting. I know that our members love getting to know each and every one of our content creators. So this has been a pleasure for having you on. And if you guys want to shoot with Austin, he is available. He's like we said, he's based out of NYC. But if you want to take him to Colorado or even Europe, he is down.
I'm down. Yes, please select me for your next shoot. I would love to make your brand shine. So
I love that. Thank you so much, Austin, for being amazing.
No, thank you, Lyric.